$2,000. That's where gold is headed. The growth will continue throughout 2023 with gold prices remaining elevated at an average price of $2,086 an ounce, according to Bank of America. Crypto keeps on tanking. Stocks are too volatile. Gold in your IRA is steady. Thousands of people have retired comfortably with the help of Noble Gold Investments and their gold and silver IRAs. If you get in before the end of this month, you'll bag an incredible free 3-ounce silver American Virtue coin with every qualified IRA of $20,000 or above. You can't go wrong with Noble Gold Investments. Call 877-646-5347 to find out more or visit noblegoldinvestments.com. Hey, Inspired Tribe, my fellow freedom lovers, it's John Nolan here. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for liking, sharing, commenting. Thanks for subscribing and hitting the notifications button so you'll get notified about new videos every day. Let's dive into it. Today we're going to talk about preparation for 2023. We've been talking about it. It's a very important topic. We recently posted a video that was called 11 Ways to Spiritually Prepare for 2023. We'll put it up here and down there so you can watch it. But today's more about the practical stuff, nitty-gritty stuff. And I want to make one thing abundantly clear. We do believe that we are going and we're going to arrive at a beautiful, amazing destination, but we're on this journey with all kinds of challenges and all kinds of rocks and potholes in the road. So we really need to be prepared for what's coming. And it's kind of like, when this winter storm moved through America just a few days ago, the people that got ready, the people that made their houses and their places ready and took care of their animals and their families, they were doing fine. And others who ignored it suffered through it. And that's kind of how we approach this always. So what we're facing are monumental shifts. We are in these shifts. We're experiencing them, but it's going to intensify. There's going to be more of that coming. And so when we say preparedness, it really means to begin to shift your lifestyle, to begin to create a new self-sufficient, self-reliant lifestyle. What your life is going to look like through these shifts. You have to look at, for example, at the end of 23, looking back at the year, how good do you feel? How empowered do you feel? How secure in yourself do you feel? Are you happy with what has unfolded? Visualize. You have to really put yourself into the end state and put yourself in the feeling space of what that looks like. That is creation. That's co-creation. That's where you always start. Start with what it would feel like to already be in that state, already have taken care of these things, already living your best life, if you will. That is the most important thing to do. Now we're going to go into the nitty-gritties. All right, of course, this is highly important. Food. That's one of the main necessities. And you have to look at your short-term plan and your long-term plan. In the short term, you want to make sure that you and your family are prepared for at least 3 months of no outside food. So basically, you can look into canned goods. You can look into dehydrating food, dried fruits, veggies, meats. You can look into nuts and seeds. These are all very important things that you can do. Of course, you can also look into emergency preparedness, into long shelf life food. And we've partnered with My Patriot Supply for this particular reason, so we can get you the best deal possible where you can get 4-week kits or you can get 3-month kits. And just look into it. We'll put the link down in the description, preparewithinspired.com to get the best possible deal. And then make sure that you're stocked up for at least 3 months and plan this with your family, talk it through, see what you can do about that. But of course, look into, as always, the long run. How do you become more self-sufficient in the area of food? One of the most natural things to do, of course, is if you can, grow your own. Start your permaculture garden. Look into stuff like food forest abundance. They are experts in installing food forests and helping people on that journey. That's why we partnered with them. And right now they're offering an amazing free consultation. So you just go down in the video description and book your free consultation with Food Forest Abundance. Of course, these are just some options. There are many more. It's really important to look into farmers markets, look into community gardens, look into all possibilities on how you can make yourself more independent of grocery stores and the mainstream food sources. If you can, look around for farmers. Maybe you want to create a relationship with a farmer now, so you have your meat if you need to, you have your veggies and fruits if you need to, and you already start buying from them so you have a relationship built up. There are many ways to prepare for food shortages, but really want to encourage you to change your whole lifestyle to more self-sufficiency. Look local, look in your community, get started on that. Also, as a side note, seeds are always great, not just for growing, but also for bartering. P.S. Don't forget your animals or your livestock. Make sure you have contingency plans as well when it comes to them. Next thing on the list, number 3, very, very important, water. Really think your way through these things. Do your own research on this. Of course, in the short run, you can stock up on bottled water in food grade containers or plastic bottles, and you have a supply for a set amount of time. But then you got to look into water security for the long term as well. What are the things that you can do depending on your circumstances and your surroundings? Look into rainwater harvesting. Look into filtration systems for that rainwater or for stream water or creek water that's close to you. Look into the possibility of wells. Perhaps you can put in a well and install a well on your property. Maybe you have access to spring water somewhere close by. Maybe there's a spring. Check for that. Many areas have it. It is really important to wrap your mind around this. Again, maybe someone in your family has a well, has a creek running through their property. It is important to think about these things. The more you do think about them, the more ideas you will come up with to create water security for your family. And of course, it starts with drinking. Where do you wash yourself? Hygiene, all these things are extremely important. So I want you to wrap your mind around that and do your research on water security. Number 4, very important as well, how to keep warm in a colder season. What happens if you have prolonged power outages? Once again, this freak storm Elliott that came through showed what happens and when people are prepared. If you use electricity to heat your house or your apartment, then make sure you have a contingency plan. It starts with really good clothing, by the way. Make sure you got clothing that keeps you warm, that's thermo. Look into thermo sleeping bags, that can help a lot. Look into materials so you can seal windows and doors so you don't get that cold draft. But of course, you also need a source of heating. There are battery-operated space heaters. If you have a gas fireplace, usually that works even when there is a power outage. There are do-it-yourself possibilities. Look on YouTube and other places on the internet that show you how you can use a few candles and a clay pot to create a little bit of space heating in your room. Most importantly, you have to wrap your mind around your particular situation and what you can do. Things are very different whether you're out in the country, on your property, or whether you're in a city, in an apartment. The truth is, there is a solution for everyone. You just have to really start researching and wrap your mind around it and create a plan. If you're out in the country or if you have your own property, of course, stocking up on firewood and making sure you have a little safe space where you can burn that outside will help also, not just with keeping warm around the fire, but also with cooking needs. Okay, number 5, this is a huge topic. It's power. We see it now in Europe. We've seen prolonged outages. We've seen where they ration gas for heating, or in California where they tell people to turn their power off or stop using it. But the truth is, anywhere in the world, it is always wise to be prepared for power outages. Of course, there are really big and really small options, just depending again on your circumstances. You can have a full-blown off-the-grid solar system, for example, that powers your full house, and you have power banks for that excess power, and you should be in good shape. You can have generators that run on different fuel sources like propane or gas or whatever, and then you can use those, and if they're big enough, they can again power your full house. But oftentimes people don't really need that much power. They need the refrigerator powered, they need their freezers powered, and they need some medical equipment powered. And for that, you can go with a smaller generator, you can go with a power bank, you can go with a solar power bank, a fairly small power bank. If you are living in an apartment and you have access to a balcony, a rooftop, or even a window that's facing the sun at some hours of the day, you should get enough to get that recharged. And that way you have a power source that can help you power necessities. This is a really important topic to think about, and we encourage you to also think long-term. There's short-term and long-term. Always think long-term. How can you make yourself more independent, more self-sufficient, and less depending on outside structures that are becoming very controlling more and more by the day. Number 6, also very important, medical supplies. And it starts for everybody with a first aid kit or 2 first aid kits, if you will. Just make sure you got some of the necessities where you can work with smaller injuries, wounds, where you can clean them, where you have the necessary tools to deal with that. But also think about your own and your family's medical needs. Perhaps you have special needs, special medications, and you want to stock up on that. Do make a long-term plan for that as well. Also look into alternatives. If your meds for some reason wouldn't be accessible or you would run out of them, are there short-term alternatives that you can use? Are there things to help yourself? Again, make a plan, sit down with your family and see what your needs are, and make sure that you're ready for when you cannot go to the pharmacy or you cannot go to the grocery store to pick up those things. Number 7, very important, self-defense. A lot of people don't want to think about that, but self-defense is very important. Again, there are multiple options, from the lethal options like guns to less lethal options like pepper sprays or other things. There's a plethora, and really you should pick the ones that suit your needs and that you feel comfortable with. Then familiarize yourself with that tool. Educate your family. These weapons are only dangerous when people are not educated. And so make sure that everybody knows what the deal is. You should stock up on these things. That might become very important and will come in handy. Also, things like ammo in the long run might be something to barter with. So that's also something to look into. But as always, it's really important to start thinking about it, start making a plan, and don't ignore these things. As I said, there are many tools that you can use depending on what you're comfortable with. But self-defense is very important and should be something that you think about and your family should think about. Number 8, also very important, easy to do. Make sure your documents, most important, with birth certificates and other stuff like insurance policies and necessities, that you have in forms of document, make sure they're stored somewhere where they're safe from water and fire. You can even store them in an external place, make certified copies or just copies, but just make sure you have peace of mind when it comes to that. It's a real hassle when you need to go through these things and get them, especially in a state of emergency or something. So just something to think about and very easy to do. Number 9, also very important, of course, finances. We see dramatic shifts, and truth be told, we are in a depression. It just hasn't been announced yet, but we are in a depression. And as such, we need to make completely different preparations. One of the things, of course, that I always recommend is keep cash on hand rather than have all your money in a bank account or somewhere else. But there are circumstances where cash will lose even more of its value than it has already. And then I would encourage you to look into things that historically always work during depressions. Precious metals come to mind. There hasn't been a period yet where precious metals haven't worked. It's always good to have some on hand, because if the currency becomes not valuable at all or devalued completely, you will have these things. So that's why I always tell people get smaller coins, small pieces of precious metals, so you can actually barter, trade, buy with those. And they are actually hard currency. So that's something to look into. Of course, other hard assets. For those who have more money to invest, there are certain things that will keep a certain foundational value, land, real estate, something that will always be valuable. Even technical equipment, basic equipment, tools could be things that will keep their value, could be great to barter with. But it's important to get a good picture on what works during a depression. It's very different than during good economic times. And it will also give you peace of mind. So play through the scenarios, what happens when the banks close, ATMs don't work. These systems keep having problems. Over 2022, we've seen it more often. Also, withdrawing cash is becoming more and more difficult. The banks are lowering their limits on how much you can do on short notice and stuff like that. So make sure you are prepared and have peace of mind when it comes to financial preparedness as well. Speak to your family, speak to your broader family also. It can help to make a collective plan. Number 10 is kind of a disclaimer. This is not a full and comprehensive list. These are just essentials. But really, this should inspire you to get into the state at least 30 minutes a day where you think about research, look into these things, preparedness, self-sufficiency, off the grid, however you want to call it, and whatever your needs are. But it's great to think about these things, make plans, and be prepared So, and the most important thing about this really is when you are prepared, it's kind of like in an emergency, you put in a plane, you put that mask on your face so you can help others. And this again is exactly why this is so important as well. So you can help your family, help your community rather than be in a state of panic and flux. Also, there are great resources out there that we recommend. One of our favorite ones is the Health Ranger, Mike Adams. He's been doing this for many, many years. He's got a whole network built and is amazing at this. So look into Mike Adams and the Health Ranger and Natural News. These are all his websites and what he has to share about these topics in terms of preparedness and getting ready. Number 11, last but not least, all of this is not really aimed at lone wolves. Preparedness works best in communities, in families, in groups. And so as we've been saying for a long time now, community family groups will be the foundation and the cornerstone of the new society anyways. If you build them now, you can help each other, lift each other up, and preparedness is that much better in a group because then everybody can chip in and take care of a certain aspect. It makes absolute sense to do that. And it will again give you peace of mind to know that you're not just materially prepared, but you have a group of people around you that you can talk with, that you can exchange thoughts with, pray with, meditate with, do all these beautiful things. And really, that will be the future. We are not preparing for a short period of upheaval and economic hard times and depression. That's what we're living through. And we want to make sure that we don't just survive, but we actually thrive through these times. So we have the strength and the stamina to build this new way of life that's actually our original way of life, which also leads me to encourage you to take care of yourself spiritually, mentally, and physically. Exercise, work out, build up that stamina, pump up the good hormones inside of you, and make sure that you're in good shape because this is going to be demanding on us on all levels. And if we're in good shape, we can much easier deal with all of this. As we've said before, and we'll continue to say, we are 100% positive that there is a beautiful golden future, a golden era, a golden age awaiting us because we have co-created this. But we need to get there. We need to get through this. Things are crumbling down. And together, we can definitely make this happen. I have absolute trust and faith in all of us. So Inspired Tribe, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for being here with us. We love you. We appreciate you. And we'll be back with you again very, very soon. We're more dedicated than ever to provide authentic, truthful, and uncensored information and inspiration. That's why we created the Inspired community on the free speech platform Locals. There's no censorship, a free flow of information, and it's more personal and intimate. And you can join us as a free member or a paid supporter. Please visit inspired.locals.com and join us today.